fantastic today. I am talking here with Rico Tice, who is the evangelist of All Souls Langham Place.
That's right.
And I just wanted to have a little bit of a reflection on how's the pandemic been for you, and how do you feel let's start with that one. How's the pandemic been for you?
Well, yesterday I took the funeral of my best mate from school, called Dan, down in Yeovil. They didn't have any other times in the crematorium for that week, in terms of how many they're losing. And Dan died at 55 of liver cancer, but was not diagnosed during the pandemic. So that's just a very emotional, visceral reflection on for me. And Disney died at 53. Lee died at 57. So they died of cancer in the last 3 months.
Wow.
And then obviously we lost older people at All Souls of COVID.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 waves.
Yes.
But certainly I've taken, I guess, 15 funerals, maybe 20.
That's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's huge. And I guess if you think about that multiplied out with all the challenges that leaders faced, it's been actually quite a time for a church leader.
I've never had a time with my notebook where I've got 4 different funerals going on with the names. I'm trying not to confuse from the different families and then different addresses to give. So that really has been, and we've just lost a brilliant personal evangelist called Lillian Tang, who just 72, suddenly bowel cancer erupted. I've got a lovely video of her, of the 3 people she was doing one-to-one with during lockdown. I mean, she's just a wonderful worker. And but again, her funeral next week. So it just really, just a lot of loss of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you think that's us in the church, at least we have hope, Rico.
We do.
So we go through this, but we go through it with a framework, this incredible framework of Jesus, eternity and hope.
Yeah.
But I wonder what, it's obviously going to have had an impact to the people outside. Have you seen anything anything of that?
The moment for me was on my street. So there was a guy called Roger who died, who was elderly. And amazingly, I got to the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital with his wife, Shirley, the night he died. And then another lady called Pat died, who was a delight, but a woman without faith. And I went to her funeral, I spoke at her funeral. And one of my neighbours, who's never said anything spiritually to me, knocked on my door the next day, having gone with me, and said, "Wasn't it terrible that there was no mention of the resurrection?" Now, this woman does not go to church at all. And I could have knocked me flat. She said, "You have to have hope." And I was like, what? So that just shows where I think she was staggered to knock on a door, but she said, she was sort of saying to me, "I just want you to know that we do need the resurrection, don't we?" And she is not a practicing Christian.
That's amazing.
And another one on my street, Easter Saturday, this was 2020, I knocked on her door and I said, "Look, we're online tomorrow. I just want to tell you." And she said, So you should. I've never had someone say to me, when you knock them, "How dare you, the sin of omission, you didn't knock on my door."
Wow.
So it was just like, now I'm not saying, Rachel, that these people have come to faith. I'm not, I think, but there's sort of a lot of fish in the net. I'm not saying they're in the boat, and I'd love help on how better to help them through. I think, someone evangelists are meant to equip God people for works of service, and we're trying to work out how to get them into the boat, and so we need help. But there are a lot of people who have had their worldview changed. I mean, when that woman knocked on my door and said, "What about the resurrection?" I was like, "But you never come to church." Actually, I hate to say, she's not been since. I mean, we tried, but I'm just saying that you could knock me over.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And that is, if you think about this, that's rippled out, isn't it? People have been faced with issues of their own mortality, of life, of death. And you just realise we are in a season and a moment. We're not saying that we obviously recognise it's been tough. It's a really tough season. But there are a lot of people that it's a moment to engage with them, isn't it? And
I think opportunity and exhaustion are side by side. So we've got to say, "Lord, please give strength." But the other thing is Rachel, I think we can be much more intentional in getting to people's worldviews much more quickly. So we were quite presented, and you do hobbies and friends and job, and they were successful. The next level is emotion. Yeah. And then the next level is worldview. There's a sort of onion. But in training people at All Souls, I was saying we can get to the centre more quickly. We can say, "How are you feeling?" Because it's the pandemic. And all the activities they'd sort of boast about aren't happening anyway. Yeah. And by the way, my kids have just had chess club cancelled again this morning because there are no outside activities because of COVID cases. So, but then you're into worldview quite quickly. Yes. You can intentionally go that. And so it seems to me one of the key passages we found in COVID is Matthew 7:24-27. Are you on the rock or have you built on sand? Because the storms come and the people who are on sand have been found to be on sand, whilst I think of Lillian, who died a couple of weeks ago. I went to her open casket on Saturday, and Bob, who's just died at All Souls, age 82, haven't been at All Souls 60 years. They're on the rock. So as I talk to their spouses, there's just this absolute solidity that's very humbling, really. And they're not pretending. They're just like, I've got to wait and hope, and I'll see them again. There'll be a day of reunion. And they're convinced of that, so they're just looking forward to that day.
Yeah, and it's solid, isn't it? I like that. Solid
it
as
is
a rock.
Rock solid.
And have you seen more people engage both? Obviously, you went online. Have you seen people, because you engaged online, that have come through to do like Christianity Explored?
Well, it's so lovely you asked me that because today I'm interviewing Dr. John Clark, who's a doctor down in Truro. His daughter, Sophie, comes to All Souls. You know, if you want to win these older alpha males, their daughters are really important because they find it hard to say no to their daughters. So she basically sends him on Christianity Explored. She sends him on, we did Life Explored. He then did another Christianity Explored, did Hope Explored, which is a test little course we're running. I think Discipleship Explored. He just spent, everything we were doing, he just joined us from Truro. He joined us from Men's Breakfasts. And then back in Truro, St. Key Church, I connected with Mark, the vicar there, who then read with him individually, so really journeyed with him, but he's professed faith, and we're interviewing him this afternoon. So we're going to interview someone who came to faith with All Souls online from Cornwall.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, via his daughter. And because he trusts his daughter, he sort of got introduced to us. He knew All Souls. He came up when he came to visit her. But actually, that's an extraordinary miracle of the Lord. It's the Lord who's opened his eyes, but online has done that.
Online's done that. And I know you've just had an evangelist conference, and again, wasn't there? You were able to film for just helping church leaders to say we need to stay online. We need to stay in that.
Well, Rachel, you have rebuked me on that, and I was, I just want to acknowledge that I was thinking this is just Christians doing pajama church, but I've seen the stats, and we've got a vast number of people who are not Christian or are watching or are with us each week, but they're not regular Christians who are avoiding their local church. That's our great worry at All Souls. We don't want to steal people off the local church. We want them back in church. But what we've seen is that there are an awful lot of people who are watching who are nowhere, and we're trying now to ramp on. So we're trying to get them local, but we realise we've got to stay online. But that's the next job. And I think Alpha are very interesting, HTB, because they're going, okay, if you want to do an Alpha course, you can come online with us, but we want you, if you're out of London, to do it locally with an Alpha course, online, but with a local church. So we're trying to get people physically in the flesh. But we've got to acknowledge that online is like a new language, and you're having to learn it and live in their world.
And we've found often people who started online are even keener to then come physically if they're near. We found that with our church, and that's been really important. But the online was easier because that's how they shop for everything. That's how they try everything. It's how it's been amazing. The church has done that missionary move. There's something else. You've done a new basics course, a shorter one called Hope Explored. Tell us a bit about that. It starts in a different place, doesn't it? It sort of starts with where people are, with the felt needs that maybe have come up during the pandemic.
Well, I think the first thing is that we found asking people after Christmas and Easter to a 7-week course is too big an ask. But if you say, come for 3 Monday nights in January, New Year's resolution, why not have a look? They were going, well, I can do 3. And we say Hope Explored. In God's providence, that's what we were developing pre the pandemic, so we then could run it to look at it. But 3 post-Christmas and Easter is a much easier ask, but then it's an introduction to the longer one. So you can do 3, and then we found groups almost staying together and said, okay, well, it was the pandemic, so they didn't have much else in the diary, but they'd then February, we'd have a week's break and say, come back to CE beginning of February, and then they were all there because they'd met each other and connected. So it's a 3-week course that we hope really is a link into a longer course. And as you say, it's Luke's gospel, but Isaiah 9 verse 6, it's the Old Testament prophecies about Jesus. So he's the wonderful counselor, he's the Prince of Peace, he's the mighty God, he's the everlasting Father. Here he is doing that in Luke's Gospel. And, if he was able to fulfill those prophecies, we can trust him for the future too. So it's a joyful expectation about the future based on true events in the past that changes everything in my present. That's the sort of definition we're going for.
Brilliant. Well, that's great. We would love people. Where can people find out about that?
It's coming out in January, Hope Explored, and if you look at the Christianity Explored website, you can get it from there. And really pleased. And as you said, felt needs are at the beginning of it. So unashamedly, we start with hope, purpose, peace.
Yes.
So we begin by just trying to find out where people are on that, get their worldview on that, have a bit of a discussion around that, and then move into the facts of the resurrection, and then the fulfillment in the Bible study. So those three things.
That, I think, again, it would work quite well. We did the Wellbeing Journey course. Again, I think that would work either before or after that as a short thing, and then into... Because once you've got people blended as a group and you've not asked them too big an ask, they actually do want to come back and do more. Yeah. So, again, if you're looking for things that you can do, and obviously we know everyone's busy, we want to help people, don't we, to be able to have the things. So look at Hope Explored. It will run quite well, I think, with the Wellbeing Journey, which again is the family thing. Those two, you could run them quite easily.
That, by the way, that is a great title. I've not seen the material, but the Wellbeing Journey, that's... Again,
and it's because it's the questions people are asking.
Beckoning title.
And that's the point. It's it's felt needs. This is where people are. So, they could start with that and then you can take them deeper. So both of those things we'd love people to have a look at. And Rico, just so good reflecting on where we are. And I thought it struck me about the we're exhausted, but we've got massive opportunity. I think that is a...
And I guess if there's one thing I'd say, someone says, what's the silver bullet in all of this? I think it is an individual journeying with another individual. So, the reason John came to faith is his daughter was tracking him. His daughter was saying, Daddy, this course now. So, it was it was daughter for the father. And I was a bit too. I was involved with him. But I think, I don't know what your experience, but the people who are coming to faith, someone is laying down their life and going with them. So on the Wellbeing Journey or Hope Explored, even if they're not on the course, they've really got an eye on them and they're saying, okay, what next? How are you doing? And it's that ability to lay our lives down individually with people in friendship. And I don't think there's a shortcut. I think we've got to be prepared to do that, all the way into church life.
Which was what we've seen with the Talking Jesus research. We're looking hopefully to redo that, but that was so clear, wasn't it, on friends and family. So that's exactly true. It was John Stott's great theme. I mean, he didn't go for hierarchy in terms of church promotion. He just remained a pastor, but his friendships were far more influential. Wow. He just made friends with people. So he said the future will be not about hierarchy, but about relationship. And Uncle John saw that. I mean, he could have become Archbishop of Sydney and when he was 32. He was offered that post, but he stayed in a parish and he made friends. Yeah. And the people who became his friends they were hugely loyal to him, and then round the world they became his Langham representatives. So, and that'd be great. And we're beginning to look towards Christmas. So really, again, people, who can you invite to Christmas? Absolutely. Because it's such a key moment. And just at the moment, therefore, as we head to Christmas, celebrate people. God has sovereignly put them there. So ask them questions, serve them. What's their biggest need? What's their biggest stress? Random acts of kindness. But thirdly, get ready to cross that little pain line and say, do you celebrate Christmas? Yeah. And it's always a little pain line. Yes. But we just got to and we'll get some rejection, but actually... of all the years, we can say, well, of course I'm asking, will you come along at Christmas? Look at the year we've had. Yes. But let's cross that. And, if they go quiet, that's what the English do, then you go quiet too and go back to celebrating them. But if not, you keep asking questions. You say, well, when did you go along at Christmas? Oh, your mum. Your mum took you. Okay, and just ask and chat. It's been amazing. Rico, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure. Just been a great joy to be here and have that conversation. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.